I think that's an opinion. I think you think they do more harm than I mean more good than
That's
harm.
not
I
an.
think that's
Wait, you don't want
and
to
I
go.
think
You don't want to go that direction.
I think we're probably gonna have to agree to disagree on this because I can see this going absolutely nowhere
No, no, no.
in terms
It's
of
it's
like
that you're
discussing.
saying that all I'm doing is giving opinions, but you're giving an opinion.
No, no,
It
I'm giving opinions too. I'm expressing my opinion
No, no,
on
no,
this
but
for
my
sure.
opinion is based on something that is grounded in reality, like a statistic that I can send you that shows that vaccines in general have saved millions of lives.
You
And
can't
even
give, but you
COVID
can't
vaccines have reduced, what, 200,000 plus deaths, according to a Yale study. So when we have
you can't
vaccines that
give
are.
statistics. Sorry, go ahead.
So yeah, you messaged me on Twitter. You wanted to talk about vaccine mandates. So what's up?
Okay,
What's your
so
position on it?
my position on it is that I'm completely against vaccine mandates. And I know this is something that we're probably going to have contention on, which is why I brought this up as the subject for us to debate, because I'm sure there are certain topics that we could find common ground on. I'm just not entirely sure if this is one of them.
Okay.
I think vaccine mandates are extremely authoritarian, and I think once we start trending in a direction where it's okay to do things like that, it's just not a very good look. I feel like that gives the government too much power to kind of enforce whatever they want. And I know like one of the common things like I hear from either the right or the left in different scenarios is like, oh, well, if you don't like this policy, you can just move to another country. But when you have stuff like vaccine mandates and vaccine passports in place, that becomes an impossibility because even to fly via airlines, you have to have a vaccine or you have to have something in your body. So if you don't like the policy, you can't just leave and go somewhere else. You're kind of trapped and confined to it.
Right. I can agree with that. Yeah.
Okay,
So
well, that's
your
good.
main concern is just that it's treading on authoritarian grounds and gives the government too much power.
I do think it's very authoritarian. I think it gives see, okay,
Well,
I'm okay
let's.
with like I want sorry.
I
You
was
can
just
go
going to
ahead
ask
if you
you
want.
like, yeah. So let's try to break this down. So like, how are you going about defining authoritarian? Like, for me, and maybe this is a shallow definition, but I feel like for the sake of argument, it holds up enough. For me, I feel like it's hard for something to be really authoritarian if it's following the like constitutional processes. So it might still be possible for something to be authoritarian while still going through the proper government processes. But I feel like that's a lot harder for that to take place. When I think of authoritarianism, I'm thinking of an exemption from the Constitution or the government process or the checks and balances to simply enact your goals or your agenda pretty much without question and still,
So
crushing people who try and get in your way.
yeah, I get what you're saying, but can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So like where in the Constitution does it say that it's okay to enact something like a vaccine mandate,
Well,
potentially?
yeah, in the 10th Amendment.
The 10th Amendment?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
See,
if you look up the 10th Amendment, I'll pull it up too for my stream.
yeah,
Um
let me look it up.
Now, keep in mind that to be very clear, when we're talking about when we're talking about vaccine mandates, um, we're not talking about this on a federal level because the
Okay.
government cannot actually enact a federal vaccine mandate. That is against the Constitution.
Hmm.
But what it does is the 10th Amendment says the powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively.
Okay.
So this essentially gives the states rights to enact vaccine mandates across their state. Again, not nationally. The federal government can't do that. But this is why you'll probably hear people cite case law from way back in Massachusetts in the early 1900s. They were one of the
Uh-huh.
first states to enact a vaccine mandate across the board for everybody in their state.
Okay. So are you a big states' rights guy?
I mean, in some instances, yeah, but
Okay.
the thing with this is I'm down with states' rights to mandate vaccines
Hmm.
because if it's according to the Constitution, I don't see how this is authoritarian because they're following the Constitution. And then when you say that's too much power given to the government, there's no power being given to the government. The government already had this power. They're just using it appropriately.
Okay. So when I'm trying to look at the 10th Amendment, I'm just getting like giant walls of text. Can you give me like a brief rundown of what specifically in the 10th Amendment says or supports the concept of vaccine mandates?
Well, it doesn't directly say like vaccine mandates are cool. It says the powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor
Oh, okay.
prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states. And this was the amendment that has been used in case law previously to justify states mandating vaccines because the federal government cannot, but the Constitution does not say that the states cannot do it. So it's then left up to the states.
So does it say that in specifically in regards to vaccine, like does it mention the word vaccine, or is it just saying in general things should be left up to the states?
No, it doesn't directly mention vaccines, but I don't think we should
Okay.
expect it to. I'm looking some stuff up for you right now. Two federal judges have cited the 10th Amendment as part of the reason for their rulings that paused multiple federal vaccine mandates issued across the U.S. So, again, like I said, you can't do it on a federal level. The ruling says, let's see, they issued an injunction that halts the federal vaccine mandate, that in a federal system, the federal government has limited powers. The states and the people retain the remainder. The states have broad authority to enact legislation for the public good, such as police power, but the federal government has no such authority. So this is what a judge is saying, federal judges are saying as well, which is just that they're not able to do this on a federal level, but it's left up to the states, and they do. They have the 10th Amendment, their police powers. They're able to make mandates in regards to vaccines for the betterment of the citizens of that state.
So I guess that would beg the question, like, do you see yourself as like a constitutional absolutist or somebody who thinks that this is the way it was written, this is the way it has to be going forward, it can never be changed or altered in any respect. Like, what's your opinion on that
I mean, not
generally?
really. Like, I'm okay with changing. Excuse me, sorry. I'm okay with changing certain aspects of the Constitution, again, if it goes through the proper procedure for that to happen. So, I mean, we could argue if you think that this amendment is wrong, that could be an argument because sometimes I'll get people that say that like, well, the Constitution says that, this country is for white people or something like that. And I would, of course, push back and say, well, the Constitution's a living, breathing document. It can be changed. It can be ratified to be more inclusive. But this is an amendment that has now held up since the early 1700s. So I think that it would be pretty wishful thinking to assume that we could get rid of this amendment, kind of like the Second Amendment. You're just not going to be able to get rid of some amendments. And in regards to this one, I mean, this is a broad amendment, which does allow for states' rights in a large degree. So I don't know if getting rid of this amendment or changing it is something that's very realistic. It's not really a very realistic thing.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess like it's something that I have such mixed feelings on in terms of like the Constitution. I don't really know where I stand on it because on the one hand, I like to believe that we have some semblance of rights that are present in the Constitution and there's no way for anybody to ever encroach on those. But on the
Mhm.
other hand, I see stuff like this, which just goes against everything I believe morally because I'm completely opposed to vaccine mandates.
So, but
So
but
if
why,
if
other
there
than the too much power from the government, since I feel like now that we've talked about it being in relation to the Constitution, it's not really giving more power to the government, since the government already has had this power. Why else are you morally opposed to the vaccine mandates?
Well, it's not about giving them more power. If they already have that power, then that's still a problem. Even if that's something that's already in place, it's still an issue that we should try to correct, don't you think?
Say that again. What's
I
the
mean,
issue?
it's still an issue that we should try to correct, even if it's already in place. It doesn't really matter if it's something that's been there for years. It's still not something that I agree with.
Yeah, but why? Why do we want to change it? Like, I feel like an argument could, and I'm not making this argument to you, but I feel like an argument could literally be made that this attempt to change a constitutional amendment to fit your worldview, that's arguably authoritarian sounding. Whereas, again, if we're talking about going through the proper procedures to change the amendment, that's one thing, but why are you so morally opposed to this?
Well, no, no. What you said about changing the Constitution, that was why I was saying that I have mixed feelings on it because I don't like to think that it can be just changed willy-nilly and anybody can like
Oh,
edit
it
it or
can't.
ratify it at any time.
It can't. Well,
I
it
know.
can't. It has to go through a very
I
long process in order
I
to be
know, but I'm
changed.
saying I don't think it should be like that.
So you
which
don't
is
think
why
the
I
Constitution should
have
ever be
very mixed
changed?
feelings on this issue. I have very mixed feelings on this issue because I think that there are some things that, it would be okay to get rid of, like maybe something that allows the government to enact vaccine mandates. But then on the other hand, that just opens up this whole like universe of anything can be changed in the future potentially. People's rights could be taken away through future gratifications just because that's something that happens. I don't know. It's just it's something that I'm very torn on.
Well, the Constitution can. So if we're talking about changing the Constitution, like there have been things that have changed in the Constitution that have been great. I think we both agree with that, like giving women the right to vote, recognizing black people as humans,
Mhm.
getting rid of this idea that you can't discriminate against who can vote based on their ethnicity. I think that a lot of that is a good thing. But also, you can't just change it willy nilly. I looked it up just really quick because I don't know exactly how, but it says an amendment may be proposed by a 2/3 vote um, of both houses of Congress, or if 2/3 of the states request one by a convention called for that purpose. The amendment must then be ratified by 3/4 of the state legislatures, or 3/4 of conventions called in each state for ratification. So, one, it's a very long process. This isn't something that's going to just be changed willy nilly. And
Yeah,
two,
yeah, I get that.
but you vote for your representatives here. So there's democracy here that's playing a massive role as well. But I feel like we're kind of getting bogged down in the weeds. Why are you against this idea of vaccine mandates? Why are you morally opposed to it? I feel like I could say I'm morally in favor of it.
Well, I think actually that's a more interesting question. So, what makes you morally in favor of it?
Because I think that people generally have a right to live their lives free from sickness. And I think that if we're talking about a virus that can be significantly decreased and the severity can be significantly lowered with a vaccine, and somebody doesn't want to get that vaccine for whatever reason, then they're putting other people at risk. And I think that then you're trampling on their rights, because I think that we all have a right to go outside and go in the public square without being, maliciously harmed or getting sick. It's the same reason why we outlaw murder, right? Like, if I say, well, we're all about freedom, so we should let people be free to run around killing people, well, now you're actually harming
Whoa,
freedom
but
because everybody's
in
getting killed by
murder,
the murderers.
in Hunter, in murder, it's guaranteed that somebody dies or it's not up for debate. The definition of murder is that you're actually killing somebody.
Yeah, well, that's
It's
an
not
example. You could do
guaranteed
the
that
same.
anybody's going to get sick, or certainly not that anybody's going to die from it.
You can make this identical argument though to drunk driving as well. So there's no guarantee that you're going to hurt anybody when you're driving drunk. There's no guarantee that you're going to get in a car accident. In fact, there's plenty of people who I know who have driven drunk and they get home just fucking fine. But we still restrict that behavior, although the drunk driver's freedom is being restricted in regards to they cannot operate their property with their body when they are not sober. Then
Uh-huh.
we are protecting other people's rights because you and I have a
So
right to not get hit by a drunk driver.
here's the thing. Here's the thing about drunk driving. And I would say a very similar thing about I saw one of the people in your chat asked if I was pro-life. Well, I guess you might get some insight into that. So I would say a very similar thing about abortion is that in the case of vaccine mandates, you're forcing somebody to do something. You're forcing somebody to get something put in their body, right?
Uh-huh.
As opposed to in abortion, if you're restricting abortion's rights, you're forcing somebody not to do something. It's like, hey, don't do that. And I would say the same thing in regards to drunk driving. It's like,
So why
don't
is
do
there a
that. You
big
don't have to
difference
do that. Why are
between
you doing that?
No, but why is there a big difference between this negative and positive thing? Like, you are restricting someone's freedom to operate their property if they are drunk. Their freedom is being restricted for the
Well,
betterment of
I think a
other
vaccine.
people.
I think getting a vaccine is more of a permanent thing, and I don't necessarily know all of the specifics in regards to abortion and in regards to what long-term effects that has. So I can't really speak on that. But in regards to driving, at least, in the case of, well, obviously, if somebody dies from it, like that's awful, and obviously that's something that nobody wants to happen, right? But like you said, there are plenty of cases where people drunk drive and nobody gets hurt from it.
So yeah, but what's the answer
So,
there? It's not.
but
It's
it's
not.
very
Don't
different. It's very
restrict drunk
different than a
driving.
permanent change to your body that you're actually forced to take on by some kind of law that's made by people that you may not even support.
Well, I mean, so there's a couple things. Is I don't know if there were any actual state laws that forced people to get vaccinated. My understanding was it was mostly private businesses.
Which is, I mean, I hate that too. It's not any better, really.
Yeah, but I don't think you realize the contradiction here because the private business also has a right. They also have rights, right? So
Um,
so I feel like an even easier, more simple argument would be wearing clothes. You will literally be arrested by the state if you go outside wearing clothes. The state, or not, excuse me, not wearing clothes. The state forces you to put something on your body. They force you to do that thing rather than not do something.
that's not a permanent change to your body.
How
It's
is it
just
a
like putting on
permanent
a
change to get a
skin.
vaccine?
What do you mean?
What is a
A
permanent
vaccine is
change on a
it's
vac?
something that you're injecting into yourself. You're not just like putting on a skin, like a cosmetic
Yeah, but
item.
so what?
Oh, what?
What is it? It doesn't do anything permanently. It just protects you from the virus and makes it less likely that
What do you mean it doesn't do anything permanently?
vaccines aren't permanent. They wane.
Well,
This is why you have to get boosters.
you've got to be kidding me though if you don't think there's a difference between those examples.
Oh, well, okay, hold on. Of course there is a difference. That's why I'm bringing up a analogy. It's supposed to be different while also proving the point. The point is, one thing says you need to get vaccinated if you are going to step into this private businesses or this private
Huh.
business. The other thing says you need to do this thing with your body, put on clothes, if you want to go outside in the public space. And if you don't adhere to this rule, then you will be arrested, you will be fined, and you will face consequences. The state literally forces you to do something, to put something on your body in order to go outside. And so do private businesses. No service if you don't have shoes and shirts, right?
Okay, so do you think that there are different levels of permanence of something? Like, okay, let me give you an example, like tattoos, right? If somebody gets a tattoo, that can be removed. But you would say it was more permanent than like putting on a t-shirt, right?
Wait, yeah, but it doesn't. Why do you keep bringing up the
So
permanence of something? So getting the vaccine,
that's what I'm
hold on,
saying. So
getting the
giving a
vaccine does
vaccine is
nothing but.
more permanent than, or I'm, I don't know all that much about vaccines or how they work, so I don't even want to get into that because we're discussing vaccine mandates.
Well, I can
But
tell though
if
because
if
they
you're,
wane, dude. They don't last
but
forever at all.
it's still more permanent than putting on a t-shirt. So that's a completely different
But so
comparison.
why does that matter? It's not permanent. First of all,
I mean,
it
you're acting
lasts
like it's
longer.
the same thing.
And
You're acting
no,
like,
I'm
oh, go
not.
get
I'm
your
making
morning vaccination.
No, I'm not. I'm making an analogy showing that the state already and private businesses already have certain rules in place where they mandate what you do with your body. So the vaccine, also getting it, does nothing but help people. That's the other thing, is the vaccine does literally nothing but help people. It helps the people who are vaccinated, and it also helps the people who are around the person who is vaccinated, because that means the vaccinated person is less likely to get the virus. It also means that if the vaccinated person does actually get the virus, they have a smaller viral load and are then contagious for less amounts of time. The vaccine does nothing but benefit people.
So I did not want this to turn into like a debate where we're talking about like vaccines or how they function or what you view as like the efficacy of any particular vaccine, like the COVID vaccine, or um, because it's not something that I am versed in. I don't have the knowledge on that particular subject to really get into a discussion on it, and it's just I'm wanting to focus specifically on the aspect of vaccine mandates. So I feel like we're getting a little bit off track here, and that
You're
could
right,
be
we are, but
partially my fault also.
well, you were saying that why are we getting veered off on the vaccine? The thing is that if we're talking about a mandate on something, it's almost inevitably going to get to the subject of that thing, right? Like
But you could
if
just,
you're
I
worried
mean,
about if you're worried about mandating clothes and then we talk about it, it's most likely going to come somewhere along the lines of, well, here's why I find clothes to be bad or harmful, or this is the reason why I don't want to
no,
mandate this thing.
Hunter, listen. I know you want to turn this into like a pro-vax versus anti-vax debate, but that's not really what I signed up for in regards to this.
But
I'm here to
I'm
talk
not.
about people, the government forcing things on people, and I think that's authoritarian. I think that's wrong. It's not something I agree with. It's a completely different discussion from the subject of what they're enforcing. We're just arguing exactly what is being forced on people, and I'm saying it's probably not a good thing to have something with this level of, let's not say, permanence, because like I said, I'm not an expert on any of this, but it's like I said, it's not just like putting on a t-shirt and pants in the morning. It's a little bit more than that. And to have the government mandating that for people is not something that I'm on board with.
Well, where do you draw the line though with mandates? Because it seems as though you're fine with government mandating wearing clothes. You're fine with government
Things
mandating
that
seat
when you're
belts.
I think when you're injecting something into your body that's different than wearing clothes or putting on a seatbelt for like 2 seconds to go down the road.
Okay, but why? Like
What are
the
you
seatbelt is a measure in which it protects you
are
and
you
keeps you safe, and so does the vaccine.
So the seatbelt, is it something you're putting inside of your body? Or is it something you're strapping
Why
across
is that
yourself for
so?
like 5 seconds that you
Why
can
is that
undo
so?
at any time?
I mean, it just seems that if you want to talk about vaccine mandates, then aren't you inevitably going to have to talk about the vaccine? Like, are you against just this idea of injecting something in you, or is it something specific to the vaccine? And if
Well, that's what I'm
so,
that's what I'm saying. See, when we get into that discussion, we're going into completely different territory because you can make completely different arguments in regards to the vaccine than in regards to mandates that are being imposed on people, and I don't really have the scientific knowledge to even address the vaccine itself.
um,
So I don't understand. Like, I feel like sticking with mandates is probably our best bet
well,
because
yeah,
that's
but the
something that I
thing is
actually
that
can argue against.
yeah, but where do you draw the line for mandates here? So, like, public schools mandate that you're vaccinated to go to the school. Are you against that?
Um, yeah, I would say so for the
So,
same reasons.
but you're no, but you don't. You haven't told me the reason why, because your worldview here does an immense amount of harm. I don't want my kid going to fucking school
Well,
risking getting
I
polio.
could say that your worldview does an immense amount of harm, Hunter. So, we
But
could
mine
both say
doesn't.
that about
Mine
each
does
other, but that
not.
doesn't, if we want to have like a civil discussion about this,
Yeah, but you're saying
maybe
that
we can acknowledge
vaccines
that.
shouldn't be mandated anywhere. So the problem with that now is you are pushing people away from going to their school because someone else might be too scared to get a vaccine. I don't think that I should have to worry about my child getting polio because some dumb fuck didn't want to get vaccinated before going to public school. Like, having these mandates does far more good, at least in regards to public school, than bad.
I think that's an opinion. I think you think they do more harm than, I mean, more good than
That's
harm.
not
I
an
think that's
wait, you don't want to go that direction.
I think we're probably gonna have to agree to disagree on this because I can see this going absolutely nowhere
No, no, no.
in terms of
It's
like
that you're
discussing.
saying that all I'm doing is giving opinions, but you're giving an opinion.
No,
It
I'm giving opinions too. I'm expressing my opinion
No, no,
on
no,
this
but
for
my
sure.
opinion is based on something that is grounded in reality, like a statistic that I can send you that shows that vaccines in general have saved millions of lives.
You
And
can't
even
give, but you
COVID
can't
vaccines have reduced, what, 200,000 plus deaths, according to a Yale study. So when we have
you can't
vaccines that
give
are,
statistics. Sorry, go ahead.
all I'm saying is when we have vaccines that are reducing death and reducing people getting sick, then that's doing a good. So you shouldn't have to worry about your child bringing home polio or some other obscure disease simply because someone else didn't want to get vaccinated. That should be
Hunter,
required to go to
Hunter,
public school.
Hunter, listen. So you can't give us statistics on what's authoritarian or what's not authoritarian. It is a matter of opinion. So I guess, yeah, in some cases, you could argue that I am just arguing off of the basis of opinion because I think it's authoritarian. That's
Yeah,
not
but
something that I can back up with science. I can't
it's
bring up
not
like some
authoritarian
50
based on
articles that I can send to you on Discord.
it's not authoritarian based on any reasonable definition.
Define authoritarian.
I thought
What
we
is your
already
view of
talked about it. If
authoritarian?
I thought we already decided that something is most likely not authoritarian if
Yeah,
it goes through the proper processes. If
but
they're
it's a
abiding by a
subjective
constitutional amendment,
issue. It's a subjective issue. You can have laws that are authoritarian. So you can have a government that, has a certain system and a certain way of doing things, and then an outsider would look at that and say that it's completely authoritarian.
No, in
So, like,
regards to
just because
America,
it
if
went
you're
through
abiding by the
like a legal
Constitution, it's
process doesn't mean it's not authoritarian.
no. If you're abiding by the Constitution, it's really hard to claim that that thing is then authoritarian. Define authoritarian.
I didn't know we were defining this by the Constitution.
Favoring or enforcing strict obedience to authority, especially that of the government, at the expense of personal freedom. So, again,
That is exactly what it is.
no,
That is
because your
exactly what vaccine
worldview is
mandates
coming
are.
in conflict. Your worldview is at the expense of personal freedom. Other
What?
children have a right to not get sick. I have a right to not get sick.
They- Go to
Your
a different school. I don't know. Like, what do you want me to?
You can't just go
Listen,
to a different
listen,
school. Wait. You recognize that you can't just go to a different school, right? Most people have to go to the school in their district. So this idea that just go, no.
If you're
You're
a
saying
parent who's
schools
like,
can't mandate this.
listen,
So what if
listen to me. Listen to me. If you're a parent who's genuinely concerned about that, you can't pretend that there aren't other options. You can put your child in virtual school, put your child in online.
you shouldn't have to do that if you're immune compromised
I don't
and
think you should either, but if that's something that you're going to be so concerned about, then there are other options available to you. That's your choice. That's something that's on the table. That's not something that,
this is literally
like,
going to disproportionately harm people that are low income, because public school is the option that is available to everybody regardless of your income. That's why public school is such a viable option. So this idea that you can
But
just
see,
go either move or just go to a
homeschooling isn't one particular program. There are different ways.
That's
going to
harm low income people, because people who have to work 2 jobs or both parents are working don't have the ability to homeschool.
Okay.
They're not going to be able to homeschool. So if I want to send
I-
my child to school and my child is immune compromised, or maybe I'm immune compromised, I shouldn't have to worry about my freedom being compromised or my child's freedom being compromised because somebody else is carrying an otherwise obscure virus because they don't want to get vaccinated. You should absolutely have this mandate in place to attend public school. Like, where do you draw the line? Should the government mandate anything?
I think that things that you said they're not permanent. I can't vouch on the validity of that.
Wait,
But I will
you don't
say
even
that
have to. We don't have to get
things
scientific
that
with this.
Have a significant effect on your body, or if you're ejecting something into yourself instead of like putting on a seatbelt, then I think that I do not think that that should be mandated, because that's a change that, even if it's not permanent, which I'm not saying it isn't, I'm just saying that I don't have enough knowledge to back that up. Even if it wasn't permanent, it's still a significant change that you're making to your body. It's not something that, like, 5 minutes later or something, it goes away. Right?
It's not. It's not even the only change it does to your body is a beneficial one.
No, but you're admitting that it does a change. When you're saying when you're saying that there's a beneficial change, you're admitting that there is a change that takes place.
Okay, let's back up for a second first. I can explain to you that the vaccines aren't permanent without invoking any scientific anything. Have you gotten a flu vaccine before?
I have not.
Okay. Are you familiar with the flu vaccines?
I actually am not. Because, like I said, I'm not. See,
No. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to corner you here. I mean, are you familiar, generally speaking, with the concept that people generally get vaccinated for the flu?
Yes.
Okay. So are you also then familiar that every year people go and get new flu shots?
Yes.
So
and
therefore,
again, that's
but wait.
between,
So therefore,
interval.
So therefore, vaccines are not permanent.
No, I never said they were permanent. I said there were levels of permanence. So, like, that's more permanent than putting on a t-shirt. Would you concede that getting a vaccine is more permanent than, like, putting on an article of clothing?
But I don't know why that distinction.
Okay.
But I don't know why that distinction matters.
Because
the government
completely different, dude.
No. The reason the government does these mandates is because this is in the interest of the greater good and the health and safety of the general public. It's the same reason that they
That's such a subjective thing.
No, it's
I could
the
say
same.
I could say that about what I'm saying.
No, because what you're saying right now is
say that.
Wait. What I said is already proven. You need to tell me where you're drawing the line. Should the government enforce anything at all? Or should we literally just have like a lawless anarchist society?
No. I'm not saying that. See, that's like a little bit of a straw man, because like in a lawless society, a lot of laws are there to prevent people from doing things like to prevent people from taking certain actions. They're not there to force people to do a specific action to themselves,
Wait,
right?
but the
So those are
reason they're
completely
being
different things.
but the reason is the same. So the reason that they're forced to either not do an action or do something to themselves in regards to the vaccine comes back to the safety of the general public. It's the
No,
same.
but here's the thing. Here's the thing.
It's the
It's
same
like
reason why we
it's a
mandate speed limits.
here's the thing. In like the case of committing a crime, or like if you shoot somebody in the head, right? You're shooting them in the head. That's an action that you're taking. They're guaranteed to get shot in the head. If you're
Okay.
so like that's very different from you're talking about like you're really scared about like COVID, and you're saying that people need to have the shot or they're going to go out and just spread COVID to a bunch of people.
No, they're more
I
likely
assume
to
that's the reason why you're in favor of vaccine mandates. Um,
because it's a
that
net good,
is,
yeah.
but in that, in that scenario, um, if people do not have any guarantee to get sick from something.
I know,
There's
just
no
wait, we
guarantee
already
of
went
that.
over
It
this.
depends on so many different factors.
But we already went over this.
But there's so many different factors behind that, and
wait,
behind
hold
why
on.
people get sick or respond to certain things in a certain way.
But we already
So
went
you
over
can't
this.
act like that's the same thing as just like killing somebody or committing an actual
No,
crime.
you're missing the point completely. We already went over
Okay,
this in regards to the
let's go
drunk.
back. I feel like we're getting a little bit too heated about this.
It's okay. We already went over this in regards to the drunk driving thing. We restrict people from doing certain things with their body and their property because it has a chance of harming somebody else. There's no guarantee you're going to kill anybody. There's no guarantee you're going to crash. There's no guarantee you're going to do anything at all that results in a harm, but on the possibility of doing harm, we then restrict that behavior. So there doesn't have to be a guarantee
I guess that's something that I disagree with then.
So
I
you
guess it's
disagree
just
with
something-
restricting drunk driving?
I mean, yeah, maybe if there's no guarantee that anyone's going to be no guarantee that someone's going to be harmed from something.
This is the
I would
most.
say that there
No,
are
no,
so
no.
many
I
different
don't think you
factors
want to
behind
make
that.
this argument, dude. Because by that logic, anything that doesn't have a guarantee to hurt people shouldn't be restricted. So should attempted murder not be
here's
outlawed?
The thing, here's the thing. Okay, so let's go back a little bit and let's say that in terms of like drunk driving or something, let's say that's still illegal. But that goes back to my other argument about that's not a permanent thing. You're preventing somebody from going out and drunk driving. That's not a permanent change that you're making to your body.
You're making meaningless distinctions. We
How is
already
that
established that the vaccine isn't permanent. And so the fact that it's
No,
something
I
that
don't
lasts...
know whether or not it's permanent. I don't have enough data to speak on
Wait,
that.
no,
so I
no,
can't
you
even
do,
go
because
into
we already went over the
realm of
example.
discussing that.
We went
But
over
I'm
the
not
flu
just gonna
shot
let you
example.
say that it isn't and take your word for it.
You experienced this in your own life.
What?
You already acknowledged that there is more, or you already acknowledged that people get a new flu vaccine every year. Therefore, vaccines are not permanent. It's that simple.
No,
but
no,
we,
no,
wait,
no,
wait,
no,
we need
no,
to go
dude,
back
dude,
though
dude,
because
dude,
you're
dude,
defending drunk driving.
No, wait, hold on. But what I was saying is that there are different levels of permanence. So something can be more permanent than something else. So, which is why I keep going back to the analogy of the seatbelt, because putting on a seatbelt for a few seconds, getting a vaccine or a tattoo is going to be more permanent than putting on a seatbelt. And you acknowledge that, right? You said you agree with me on that.
I acknowledge, but your distinction is completely meaningless and irrelevant. Like, I could literally argue that it does more.
I think if you're making a life like a big decision for your life, I would say that's more significant than like deciding what you want to eat for breakfast.
It's not a big
right?
decision
That's
about
a
your
completely
life.
different thing. No, I'm saying that was an analogy, Hunter. That was an analogy, and I think it is a big decision. But what I was bringing up was I was saying that deciding what you eat for breakfast, that's a much smaller level of permanence than deciding what college you want to go to.
So where is the line in regards to what the government can and cannot mandate?
I don't know, dude. It's something I'd have to consider. I don't know.
You have to
I'm
have
just saying that
some
I'm
line.
against
Why
this.
don't you
I'm
just
against
think of
this
one
in
for the
this
sake of the
particular
discussion?
situation, I'm against it.
Wait.
No, because that could bite me in the ass later.
Okay, but
so if
we're circling and
come up with
looping because
points that
I
don't
think
agree
either
with.
I think we're talking past each other here. So
Okay.
let me try to summarize your argument the best that I can. Okay, You don't like the concept of the government mandating something unless the restriction or mandating of that thing is will result in a guaranteed harm.
I might actually retract that statement because I think there's also the permanence aspect. I think that's something that I was not considering. Drunk driving is very different from putting something in your body.
Okay, but in the sake of the drunk driving, you're restricted from putting something in your body, and it's your body, right?
I know that's what I was saying. That's literally what I was saying earlier. It's a completely different thing.
Okay, so are you walking back then that the government shouldn't restrict drunk driving?
Um,
You might want to just
yeah,
walk that back.
sure,
Okay,
sure.
so this is the problem, is that you're against the government mandating vaccines, or the state government, I should say, but yet you seem to have no reason as to why the vaccines are more important that they're not mandated as opposed to other behaviors that we do mandate and or restrict. Other than the permanence thing,
Can you
which
give me okay, so can you give me an example of some other behaviors?
I already did.
Like give me another example.
The drunk driving, the wearing seatbelts, the
Drunk
mandating.
driving is completely different. Wearing seatbelts is completely different. All of
It's
those are completely different
not
examples.
different. And it's
They are
also, well,
completely
okay, it's
different, dude.
different, but it's not exactly this. It's not completely different. It's not disanalogous because the government is mandating that you partake in certain behavior for the sake of the betterment of society. That is where it breaks down here, is that the government mandates what you do with your body in regards to driving, in regards to drinking, and they
Dude,
use.
you put on a seatbelt. You put on a seatbelt for like 5 seconds and then you take it off. That's completely different. You're injecting yourself something into your body. That's completely different than like putting on a t-shirt.
It doesn't have to be exactly identical, my dude.
No,
What I'm
but
saying is that the government
it's not even
restricts.
close to being identical. It's completely different.
No, the government mandates that you put a shirt on your body when you go out in public simply for the comfort of people around you. You walking around naked doesn't even necessarily do a harm, but the government mandates what you do with your body. Meanwhile, if you're saying that the government shouldn't mandate the vaccine is mandated in regards to protecting the betterment of society and the general public. And keep in mind again that when you are against the mandates of the vaccine, you're then going to have a larger chunk of people that don't get vaccinated, which then leads to an overall harm. That is arguably a guaranteed harm.
Well, that's getting into the effect of the vaccine. That's which is not what we're discussing. We're talking about whether or not it's authoritarian to mandate them. So we're not
Because
actually
based on
discussing
your
because I can't
definition of
talk about the vaccine.
authoritarianism, it's also authoritarian to invoke a speed limit and have a requirement that you don't drive drunk.
But those are completely different things because those are much more temporary than injecting something in your body. I don't know where you're going with this.
But the vaccine literally wanes in less than like 6 months. I can send you a thing on that
This
if
is
you.
why I didn't want to do like the vaccine thing. Like I want to talk about specifically about things that people are forcing or the government is forcing people to do and why
Yeah.
I disagree with that. I don't want to talk about
But the reason you disagree is because it's permanent.
that's a factor, but it's not the basis of my argument.
So what is the basis of your argument then?
The basis of my argument is that it's completely authoritarian.
Okay, you're using like these vague words without being able to draw any distinctions. So I could say,
Dude,
for example,
Hunter,
the government and the
Do
Constitution.
you know what authoritarianism is?
I just looked up and read the definition. Yeah. So I could say, for example, it is within the government's rights, and according to the Constitution, that they can mandate certain behavior and restrict certain behavior for the betterment of the general health of the society. It would be authoritarian for the government to invoke its rules by exempting itself from the process that is required according to the Constitution to then just put something in place that controls other people without adhering to any kind of process. I mean, that's I'm talking out of my ass here.
Then under that, we could say something like pick any dictator and their regime because it was accepted by the legal system in that country. That means that it was okay.
It's not.
And not
A lot of it
authoritarian.
wasn't, though.
But you could apply that exact same argument. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I'm not just saying that that's the. Again, I'm not saying that that's the
like,
only factor
just
here
because
either.
maybe the legality is on your side, but that doesn't make it not authoritarian.
Okay. Um, I, I don't know how. Yeah, usually like with dictatorships, they are elected into power and then
But those
revoke that
countries
power.
have
You
legal
can
systems, don't
wait,
they?
but
They
yeah,
have
but
legal systems.
yes, but hold on. You can read about what happened with Adolf Hitler, for example. He was elected democratically, yes. And then once he was in office, he had something passed which gave him full dictatorial control. So
But
then
that
that
was
was
that was a legal,
authoritarian.
but that was a legal process
No,
that he
because
went through
although it
to
was
put
a
himself
legal
in that
process,
position.
it then granted him the ability to exempt himself from
No, no,
the
no,
legal
no.
process in the future.
But okay, but the process itself that he went through to get put in that position was a legal process.
I know. But
So
once he was elected, he then went through another process which revoked his accountability to the legal process, which is what I'm saying. He was then exempt from a legal process that was put in place. And you're right. Just if it's according to a legal process doesn't necessarily mean that it is not authoritarian. But in regards to the vaccine mandates, this is literally in the Constitution. So I just don't know how you could say it's authoritarian according to the Constitution.
dude, I don't know. Like, what do you think? Do you think everything, like every single thing in the Constitution, is necessarily like? Do you agree with everything in the? I mean, the Constitution used to allow things like slavery, right? Was that a constitutional
See,
thing?
right here, this is exactly what I was saying. This is the authoritarianism form of government. It's a form of government characterized by the rejection of political plurality, the use of strong central power to preserve the political status quo. So you'd be interested in getting rid of elections. You don't want to have your position compromised. And reductions in the rule of law, separations of powers, and democratic voting. So this is exactly what I mean is when we're talking about authoritarianism, we're usually talking about one figure or a central body of some sort that has then exempted itself from the separation of powers and the rule of law. This is not happening in any way in regards to the vaccine mandates. So you can say that, like, colloquially, since it's forcing something, it's authoritarianism. But again, by that
Well,
definition, speed limits are authoritarianism.
I guess that's my argument because it's a completely subjective term. Anybody can say anything is authoritarian. So it ultimately comes down to my belief. My belief is that this is just not okay. So that's what I believe.
But
So
you
you may
need to
have a completely
justify
different definition of
why you think it's
authoritarianism.
not okay.
What have I been doing for like the entirety of this conversation?
You said that it was permanent when it wasn't, and then you said it was
It's more, I
authoritarian
said
when
it
it's
was more
not.
permanent. I said it was more permanent than your analogy, which was putting on a t-shirt and using a seatbelt. That was your analogy, Hunter.
Yeah, but so you said it's more permanent, which doesn't really matter. That holds no relevance here. We're talking
How does
about
it hold no relevance?
because we're
Would you
talking about
agree
bodily
that which
autonomy.
college you're going to go to is more important than what you eat for breakfast, dude?
Wait, yes, but in regards to the drunk driving analogy and the vaccination thing, we're talking about bodily autonomy. Other people have bodily autonomy to not get sick. And then
They
you
have
said
bodily autonomy to stay inside, dude.
people can't function like that. See, this is where your worldview is
Well,
beginning
people
to
can't
crumble.
function. Unvaccinated people can't function when they go to the store and they're not allowed to get food.
The big difference is
So
that they have the
you, like,
ability
really
to
wanna
go
go in
get
that direction?
No, the big difference is that they have the ability to go get vaccinated, but are choosing not to because they're ignorant. Whereas in
Dude,
this case, how do you know someone's not like going through chemotherapy and literally cannot get the vaccine? How do you know there aren't people who might be vaccinated but still have immune compromised conditions and then are at a higher risk? This idea of just stay home, bruh.
But those people,
This is
but people
fucking
should be,
stupid.
people should be looking out for themselves and everything that they do. People shouldn't expect society to uphold them. People should be trying to protect themselves.
You're not making any sense again because this
What do you
crumbles the
mean?
minute
How
you
is it
realize
not
that.
making any sense?
Wait, so should we all be walking
Explain how it's
around?
not making any sense.
Yeah, because according to what you just said, we should all be walking around with massive weapons because it's not up to society to keep
What?
us safe. You
That is
literally
an
just said.
extreme exaggeration of what I said.
No, it's not. It's the
It's
logical
not even
follow through
close,
of
dude.
what you said. The logical follow through of what you said is that it's now wrong for the government to say you cannot be walking around with these massive weapons shooting at people because, hey, we should be able to protect ourselves, right? Just stay home. Just stay inside, bruh.
I think that's kind of disingenuous, dude.
It's not. It's
I think you're
literally
being a
the
little bit disingenuous.
first of all, it's the logical follow through of what you just said.
The logical extreme exaggeration of what I just said. Like, let's take it from here and let's put it over here.
Yes, when
Like,
you
that's what you did.
no, when you bring it to its logical extreme, that's where you start to
Well, it's
actually
logical
expose the
extreme. That's what I'm
problems with
saying.
it.
Who said we have to bring it to its logical extreme? That's something that you said.
Because what you just said was
I'm not interested in bringing it to the logical extreme. That has nothing to do. That's so far out of bounds.
no, it's
To what I was
super
talking
relevant
about.
because when you bring it to its logical extreme, that's where you're able to actually assess whether or not this logic holds up. If it doesn't hold up in the extreme, then it shouldn't hold up in the mundane either. What you said, let me give a summary. You said that one, they should just stay home, or two, it's not up to society to be upholding their rights, or not, you didn't say rights, sorry, their protection.
Not if it involves injecting something, being forced to inject something in your body, dude.
Why does, okay. Yeah, I don't know how to,
I guess we just have to agree to disagree on this because I don't see how we can ever form any resolution on
I
it.
just don't think you understand that when you say, I'm in favor of freedom, so we shouldn't have to get the vaccine, one, you're stepping on other people's freedoms. Then you say, well, you should just stay home. Well, if you can't go out, you're encroaching on other people's feeling or on other people's
These
freedoms.
boundaries are so shaky. You could go all day talking about things like contradictions that I'm making or the contradictions that you're making in this.
I'm not making contradictions.
There's so many different, but, well, you have, but.
I'm not making a contradiction. You're making a contradiction when you say it's not up to society to protect other people. Just stay home. Or if you go out, we need to be fending for ourselves. By that logic, you shouldn't ever have to, you shouldn't expect the government to act in any way to restrict gun violence. You shouldn't worry about the government, or you shouldn't rely on the government protecting you from murder because it's up to us.
That's different than forcing you to do so. Telling you not to kill someone is different than forcing you to put something in your body, dude. It's a completely different thing.
Actually
I feel like you're being
analogous.
so disingenuous if you can't acknowledge that. You're being so disingenuous about it.
No, you're being disingenuous when you're trying to make,
dude,
again, this meaningless distinction about, it's injecting something. Who gives a shit? Both of them act in a way to protect other people and yourself.
I give a shit. There are plenty of people who give a shit. Just because you don't care about it doesn't mean there aren't like millions of people who care about this.
I know, and there are millions of people that care about not getting sick going outside because some dipshit didn't want to get the vaccine. Like, we could do this all day, my dude. Either way, the job of the government, in this case, in regards to public schools and the state government, is to partially protect society, and they act in the interest of public health and public safety.
Okay.
So it's in the best interest of society and the public that as many people as possible are vaccinated so that they, one, are less likely to get the virus, and if they do get it, they're less likely to spread it to other people. This is why, even George Washington supported vaccine mandates, right?
I don't care. I'm not a George. I don't support. I mean, I don't necessarily support George Washington.
Yeah, but then, but why? Based on what you're saying, George Washington would have to be an authoritarian.
I don't know. Maybe I wasn't. I mean, dude, how would I fucking know? I don't know. Maybe he was.
Okay. Yeah.
Maybe he held certain viewpoints like that I wouldn't agree. Like, I don't know. It's just I feel like it's completely unrelated.
It just seems like you're kind of like weaseling around when every time I poke a hole in your analogy or your logical arguments or your logic tree, essentially. You can't get mad at me, for example, for going to the logical extreme of something. That's how you debate. That's how you assess whether or not what you're saying actually holds up. If I say the government shouldn't restrict anything, or the government shouldn't restrict anything unless
that's not what I said.
I know. I'm not saying that that's what you said. I'm giving an example. Okay. If I said, for example, that the government shouldn't restrict any behavior unless it's guaranteed to result in a harm, and then you say, so do you think the government shouldn't restrict or shouldn't mandate that rails are put on bridges because people might not drive off that bridge, right? That's the logical extreme, which then shows, hold on, that doesn't actually make sense. It doesn't actually hold up.
That has nothing to do with bodily autonomy. That's something you're doing to an inanimate object.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
How does it not matter, dude?
Tell me how it does. You're the one who keeps invoking it. It's a meaningless
Because putting something
distinction.
in your body is different than building a fucking bridge, dude.
Oh my god. You're not grasping what I'm saying at all.
Okay, dude, I think we're running in circles on this. Do you wanna move on to a different topic or like something? I
I
don't
don't
know,
know. Is
dude.
there something else you wanted to talk about?
I don't know.
I just okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like there are some things that we would agree on. It's just this one particular issue. We are so fundamentally on different sides of the spectrum. I don't know how we can ever come to
Yeah, because the
some kind
difference
of
is
like
that I have
logical agreement about
the
this.
difference is that I have reasons for why I hold these positions, and you have like this
Do you
wishy-washy
not think
sort of
that
a
I have
feeling.
reasons?
Your reasons are bad reasons.
You can't provide stats for like what's moral or what's right or wrong.
Actually,
Do
you
you think
can
those
to a
don't
degree.
qualify as reasons why you should do or not do something?
You can actually. If I can statistically prove that getting vaccinated results in less harm, then yeah, you could argue that it is the moral decision to then get vaccinated.
Morality, dude, morality is completely subjective. That could be completely against the morality of somebody else.
I don't care.
Or what you agree with could be what you find to be complementary to your morality could be go completely against the morality of somebody else.
It seems like you're putting the feelings over facts right here. Like
I mean, but
just
that's the thing. There's no factual way. That's what I'm saying. You
there
just
should
tried to.
be.
It didn't really work because there's no factual way to argue what's moral or what's not.
That is not that is complete bullshit, my dude. I am able to argue that it
Okay.
is the morally correct decision to get vaccinated if you can statistically show that it lowers the likelihood of doing more harm on the general public and general society. And you know what? It's this kind of reasoning that we invoke when creating laws as well. That's why people say that laws are codified morality. We say, okay, would restricting this behavior result in less harm or more harm? Would allowing this
Okay,
behavior allow in
would
more
you?
harm or less harm? And that's then where we go
Hunter,
forward.
can I ask a question? Would you?
Yes.
Would you? Would you agree that certain things in our society and certain laws we have adopted are there because society views them to be complementary to our societal values?
Say that again.
Would you view certain laws that we have in our society as being implemented because society views them as complementary to societal values, values that are held by society?
Um,
Those could be completely different from the values of some indigenous tribe somewhere, like
okay.
across the ocean. That's a
I'm not
completely different thing.
I'm
And
not
they might
even
have a completely different moral system, completely different laws, a completely different way of looking at things.
wait, why are you trying to bring up like objective morality? This has no
Objective, because
bearing
there's
on
no such thing as objective morality. It's
subjective,
not a thing.
objective,
There's
whatever. It's
subjective.
irrelevant to this conversation. I'm talking about here
It's
in this
absolutely not,
country,
dude.
dude. In this country, laws are recognized. They're not perfect, but that's why people call laws codified morality, because we make decisions on what should be allowed or what should be prohibited based on the harm it does to general society. Since you and I both have a right to go outside and not get shot in the head, we restrict other people's freedoms to carry a weapon around and shoot at people.
I'm just saying it's a very different thing. It's so different. I don't even know how to properly express to you how different it is to inject something into your body as opposed to not being allowed to carry a gun for 5 seconds.
Hey, Steve
It's just a
McGinnis.
completely different thing.
Hey, Steve McGinnis, why don't you join the Discord, buddy? Here you go. Discord link. Get in the Discord. You can join here. Why do you think
Is
that
this
the
somebody
government?
else disagreeing with you?
Yeah, actually donating to
Okay.
tell me that they're disagreeing. So cool.
All right.
Steve McGinnis joined the Discord. Okay, he just joined. Have we talked before?
Possibly.
Is this? Oh my god, dude, you're actually getting so under my skin. Holy shit.
You're so thin-skinned, though.
I'm not thin-skinned. You're so fucking annoying. You're either A, sending me massive paragraphs tone policing me, or 2, trolling me
I was
with your
trying to
stupid
be
fuck
nice to you.
friend, and now I told you I wanted to block you because you were annoying me, and now you're posing as somebody else.
Yeah, you spit the dummy because we trolled you.
You trolled me and wasted my time and hurt my
Yeah, but-
abilities to talk to other
Have
people.
you seen the comments on that video?
Oh my god, dude. Holy
People
shit.
had fun. People, come on, Hunter. People enjoyed their conversation.
That's great. You trolled me. You wasted my time. You also compromised my ability to talk to other people that were actually sincere. Goodbye.
Oh, come on. Don't be so serious.
No, you stop being so serious. Or stop. You know what? Actually, it's the other way around. You need to be more serious, dude. Fuck off.
Really?
God.
What does that mean? I don't know what you mean by that.
Holy shit. All right, let's just end the conversation here then.
Okay.
But I mean, I appreciate the conversation. I just think that you need to. I just think you
Sorry.
need to rethink why, like, why you are against the vaccines. Like, it's you keep telling me like it's either authoritarian when it's not, or it's injecting something when that's irrelevant.
Subjective. The authoritarianism is a subjective issue. That's not. You can't just say blanket. It's not authoritarian.
Yeah, but if it's subjective, you need to give me your subjective reasoning as to why you think it's authoritarian.
I did. Because I did. This entire interview, I was giving my reasons for that.
Okay.
But
I disagree.
yeah, I mean, it was nice getting to talk to you. It's kind of unfortunate that we disagree so much on this, because I feel like there are some issues that we would genuinely find common ground on.
We might be able to, yeah, but it just seems that you're really up in your feelings about this issue. And I feel like you don't understand, like, one, how the vaccines work, why the government invents laws, when it is appropriate to restrict something versus when it's not. I think you need to, like, rethink this thing, and then maybe we can have another conversation.
No, I guess we just disagree on it for now.
All right.
But yeah, I mean, maybe I'll get to talk to you again sometime in the future about this or about something else. So I don't know.
All right, man. Well, thanks for the conversation. It was a little bit mind-numbing, but you know what? It was fun all the same. So have a good rest of your night.
Yeah. Thanks, man. You too.
Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and click the bell so you get notified when I drop a new video.